Evan Carter had worked on many human space stations, but none of them were as quiet and peaceful as the Harmony Orbit Research Base. The base floated above a calm blue star, far from trade routes and busy patrol lines. It was designed only for learning, not fighting. Humans lived side by side with friendly alien species who wanted to understand how humans survived on so many harsh planets across the galaxy. Evan enjoyed this place because everyone was here to study, not to argue. He liked peaceful days where he could repair machines, drink warm coffee, and answer curious questions from alien researchers who often found humans strange. One bright morning, Evan was checking the field generators in the main corridor when a human family visited the station for an educational tour. The couple had a small child who kept running from one display screen to another, shouting excitedly about stars and spaceships. The child suddenly tripped on his own feet and fell. Evan walked over quickly, lifted the boy gently, brushed the dust off his sleeves, and gave him a friendly smile. The child immediately felt better and clung to Evan's arm as he carried him back to his parents. The family thanked him and continued their tour with warm laughter. Nearby, at the corner of the corridor, someone watched all of this with wide, glowing eyes. Lyra, an alien researcher from a delicate crystalline species, stood completely still, holding her data tablet as if she had forgotten it existed. Her species reproduced slowly by forming small, shining buds that grew over many seasons until a new life appeared. Because of this, they rarely saw quick changes in their family units. They never lifted small children in their arms or comforted them with warm gestures. Everything about human behavior fascinated her, but today she was more confused than ever. She stepped closer, her crystal-like skin glimmering faintly. "Human Evan, may I ask something?" she said in her soft, chiming voice. Evan looked up from his tools. "Of course, Lyra. What's on your mind?" Lyra hesitated, her expression puzzled. "When you lifted the small human and comforted him, is this a part of human reproduction?" Evan blinked. "Wait, what?" Lyra's face brightened with nervous sparkles. "I observed a human nurturing a smaller human. I thought this was connected. Do humans reproduce by close physical care and emotional energy transfer?" She said the words slowly, trying to be respectful. Evan let out a surprised laugh, but not a mocking one, more like someone who had just heard something sweet and confusing. No, Lyra. That's not reproduction. That's family interaction. That's how humans take care of their children, not how children are created." Lyra's glow dimmed slightly. "So I misunderstood again." "Not a big deal," Evan said, still smiling. "Human behavior can look confusing from the outside. We do a lot of things differently compared to other species." Lyra nodded slowly. She seemed embarrassed, but her eyes still shone with curiosity. "But do all humans behave like this? With comfort, lifting, guiding? Is this how humans build their next generation?" "In a way, yes," Evan replied, choosing simple words so she wouldn't misunderstand. "We raise our children by showing love, protection, teaching, and support. It's not reproduction, but it's how we help them grow." Lyra considered this very seriously, as if she were studying a great mystery. "So humans create a strong next generation, not only through biology, but through emotional shaping." "That's a good way to say it," Evan said. Lyra stared at him for a moment longer. Then, with a sudden spark of determination, she said, "I want to learn. I want to understand how humans build strong bonds. May you teach me these methods?" Evan was not expecting that. "Teach you human bonding?" She nodded earnestly. "Yes. I want to know how humans form connections that create confidence, safety, and harmony. It seems important for understanding why humans can survive harsh places and grow powerful civilizations. Evan thought for a moment. It didn't sound harmful. And Lyra was always respectful, always eager to learn. "Sure," he said. "I can teach you about human connections. But understand, some of it might feel strange compared to your species. We're very emotional creatures." Lyra's eyes glimmered with excitement. "Emotional? I wish to study this." From that moment, Lyra began following Evan through his daily routine. It wasn't like she was bothering him. She walked carefully behind him like a calm student following a teacher. She wrote notes about every little thing he did. When he greeted another worker, she wrote it down. When he helped someone carry a heavy tool, she wrote that down too. When he laughed at a joke someone made, she wrote 3 lines about how laughter might play a role in human bonding. The other researchers on the station noticed her behavior and found it amusing, but also heartwarming. Humans, being humans, welcomed her questions with open arms. One day, she watched Evan and another engineer argue about a machine that kept shutting down. She saw their raised voices, sharp words, and serious expressions. For a moment, she feared a conflict would erupt, but a few minutes later, both men laughed, slapped each other on the shoulder, and returned to work together. Lyra quickly ran to Evan. "I do not understand," she said. "You appeared upset, then you appeared calm, and then you appeared united. How can emotional conflict create stronger connection?" Evan chuckled. "Humans don't always agree. But when we solve a problem together, even after arguing, we end up trusting each other more. It's complicated, but it's normal." Lyra wrote this down carefully. So disagreement is not the end of a bond. It is part of growing it? In many cases, Evan said. For Lyra, this was revolutionary knowledge. Her species avoided conflict completely. Any disagreement lasted seasons and required quiet mediation. Humans, however, bounced back like flexible plants in a strong wind. Another time, she watched Evan help a visitor who had lost her way. He walked her through several corridors, explaining directions with patience and kindness. Lyra followed silently, observing how comfort and helpfulness seemed to be natural to humans. Later, she said, "You help strangers as if they are your own group." "That's how humans often work," Evan replied. "Helping people makes life better for everyone." Lyra's voice grew soft, filled with wonder. "Humans build families even outside their biological groups." Exactly. Every day, Lyra's admiration for human behavior grew. She liked the way humans encouraged one another. She liked watching them laugh. She liked seeing how they supported someone who was sad or worried. She even enjoyed the confusing moments when humans made jokes she didn't fully understand. She felt as if she were seeing the heart of humanity piece by piece. One afternoon, when the main hall was quiet, Lyra approached Evan again. Her body glowed with a calm blue color, a sign of honest intention in her species. "Human Evan," she said, "I want to attempt human connection methods, not for biological purposes, but to understand how humans create emotional growth. Will you guide me?" Evan smiled warmly. "Of course. I can teach you about friendship first. That's where human connections often begin." Lyra listened closely as Evan explained simple things. How friendships grow through trust, shared time, honesty, and small acts of kindness. He showed her how humans greet each other, how they show appreciation, and how they comfort someone who feels lonely. Lyra practiced each step carefully. Sometimes she got confused, but she always tried again. Soon she began making friends with humans and other aliens on the station. She greeted them warmly, asked about their day, offered help when she noticed someone struggling, and even tried to make simple jokes, though her timing wasn't always perfect. Despite this, everyone liked her efforts. They found her sincere, gentle, and curious nature comforting. For the first time, Harmony Orbit Research Base felt like a true melting pot of species learning from one another. Lyra felt happier than she ever had before. She didn't understand everything yet, but she felt like she was taking her first steps into something meaningful, something human. She didn't know it yet, but these early lessons would soon change her life forever, and in time, they would also change the entire station. But for now, she simply followed Evan with her glowing eyes and hopeful heart, ready to learn more. Her journey toward understanding humanity had only begun. Lyra woke up the next day feeling a new kind of excitement moving through her crystal-like body. For her species, emotions were usually calm and quiet, but ever since she started learning from Evan, she had begun feeling small sparks inside her, like warm lights flickering gently. She did not have a heart like humans, but she felt something that behaved almost like one. As she walked through the long corridor leading to the human side of the station, she carried her data tablet close to her chest. She wanted to learn more today. She wanted to understand what made humans so connected, so brave, so warm. Every step she took sounded like soft glass tapping on metal. Many workers greeted her with friendly nods and smiles. She returned the gestures the way Evan had taught her, though her version was still a bit stiff and careful. When she reached the engineering bay, she found Evan checking a set of damaged wires. The area smelled faintly of metal and warm circuits. Evan looked tired, but focused. Lyra quietly stepped closer, not wanting to disturb him too suddenly. Humans sometimes reacted strongly if surprised, and she did not want to cause confusion. "Good morning, Evan," she said in her calm, melodic voice. Evan looked up and smiled. "Hey, Lyra, ready for today's lessons?" "Yes," she replied quickly. "I want to understand more about human bonds. Yesterday I learned about friendship. I want to continue learning." Evan laughed softly. "You're more eager than most humans I know. All right, let's start." Lyra carefully watched him repair the wires. His hands moved quickly but gently, and his face showed determination mixed with patience. She admired this balance. Her species worked slowly, thinking for long hours before taking action. Humans, however, acted fast and learned from mistakes just as fast. This fascinated her deeply. While Evan worked, a group of human researchers entered the bay, talking about a new experiment. One of them, a young woman named Riley, accidentally dropped a metal component that rolled across the floor. It made a loud clang, causing her to tense up. She looked embarrassed. Lyra immediately walked over and picked it up, handing it back gently. "Here," she said, copying the tone Evan used when helping people. "You do not need to feel alarmed. It is normal to drop things." Riley blinked, then laughed warmly. "Thanks, Lyra. You're getting better at this whole human feelings thing." Lyra's eyes glowed with pride. "I am learning. Evan is teaching me." Riley nodded at Evan with approval. "You're doing a good job, man." Evan shrugged modestly. "Lyra's the fast learner here." Lyra wrote this interaction in her tablet, noting how humans exchanged praise and reassurance. She wrote that humans built trust by accepting mistakes and encouraging one another. Throughout the morning, Lyra watched more interactions. She watched humans joke while working. She watched them disagree and resolve things. She watched them share meals, laugh at small things, and even tease each other gently. Human emotions seemed to stretch across a wide spectrum, yet all of them contributed to something bigger. At midday, Evan took a break and invited Lyra to sit with him near a small viewing window. The blue star below them glowed softly, filling the room with gentle light. "Lyra," Evan said while sipping his drink, "I noticed something today. You're getting more comfortable around people." Lyra looked down thoughtfully. "I am practicing the steps you taught me. Kindness, patience, listening, and sharing moments." But I still do not fully understand how these steps create human unity. Evan leaned back. Let me explain it this way. Humans grow strong together when they feel safe with one another. When someone helps them or listens to them, trust forms, and trust leads to deeper connections. Lyra nodded slowly. Trust is like a bridge between two hearts? Exactly, Evan smiled. She wrote this immediately in her notes. Then I must learn how to build bridges. You already are, Evan said warmly. In the afternoon, Lyra followed Evan to a meeting between humans and another alien species who lived in high-gravity worlds. Humans had a natural talent for handling many different environments and personalities, so they were often the ones who translated emotional tone between species. Lyra watched as Evan helped the two groups understand each other by explaining differences gently, using humor when needed, and guiding the conversation away from misunderstandings. Lyra felt amazed. Evan, humans can turn conflict into unity. How do you do that so quickly? Evan shrugged. Humans learned long ago that cooperation keeps everyone safe. So we try to find common ground. Lyra wrote this with excitement. Common ground, shared goals, shared comfort. I see. Later that day, something unexpected happened. A small alarm sounded through the hallway. Not a dangerous alarm, but one that signaled confusion in the visitor sectors. A child guest had wandered away from their parent and was now lost in the maze-like station halls. Evan immediately stood up. I'll handle this, he said. Lyra followed close behind, wanting to observe how humans responded. They found the child near a storage room, sitting alone and crying softly. Evan knelt down right away. Hey, you okay? He asked gently. The child sniffled and nodded, though their eyes were full of fear. Evan offered his hand, and the child took it. He spoke quietly, making the child feel safe again. Lyra watched the entire scene closely, feeling something shift inside her. The way Evan comforted the child wasn't taught in manuals. It wasn't a rule or a logical step. It came naturally, like a warm impulse from deep within the human heart. Lyra realized this was the part she didn't understand yet. Humans didn't just follow steps, they felt them. After returning the child to their relieved parent, Evan turned to Lyra. Everything okay? Lyra looked thoughtful. Evan, how did you know the right words? The right tone? The right moment to kneel? You did not think long. You acted. That's instinct, Evan replied. Humans have strong protective instincts, especially toward younger or weaker individuals. Lyra wrote slowly, her fingers trembling in wonder. So humans share not only emotions and logic, but also instinct, an unspoken force that guides their actions. Pretty much. Lyra stared at him with admiration. I want to understand instinct, but I do not know if I can. You can learn the behavior, Evan said kindly. Maybe instinct will come in its own way. Lyra felt touched by his encouragement. She didn't fully understand instinct, but she did understand something else. Human support gave her strength she never had before. The day continued with more tasks, more lessons, and more observations. By evening, Lyra realized she had filled almost half her tablet. She had learned about human teamwork, comfort, responsibility, encouragement, and instinct. But there was one thing she kept thinking about: emotional courage. That evening, she approached Evan in the quiet hallway. Evan, may I ask something more? Go ahead. Do humans ever fear their emotions? They seem strong but also risky. If someone cares deeply, they can be hurt. Evan nodded slowly. Yes, you're right. Emotional bonds can hurt, but humans still choose them because the connection is worth the risk. Lyra processed this carefully. So humans are brave not only in danger, but also in feelings. Exactly, Evan said. Lyra's glow brightened gently. I want to attempt this too. Evan chuckled. Which part? Emotional courage. Choosing connection even if I feel uncertain. Evan placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. You're already doing it, Lyra. You stepped into a new world without fear. That takes courage. Lyra felt still for a moment. She didn't have a heartbeat like humans, yet something inside her felt warmer. Thank you, Evan. I will continue learning. As she returned to her room that night, she replayed the day in her mind. She remembered Riley's laughter, Evan's patience, the child's trust, the unity during the meeting, the way humans comforted and supported each other without hesitation. She realized she had stepped much deeper into human connection than she originally planned. She wasn't just observing anymore. She was becoming part of it. For the first time, she wondered if her own species could learn this kind of bond, fast, emotional, instinctive, full of warmth. She hoped so. She hoped she could carry these lessons back to her people one day. But before that, she wanted to understand even more. She wanted to know how humans acted in crisis, how they stayed strong under pressure, and how their bonds worked when everything around them shook. And soon, she would get her chance. Much sooner than she expected. Lyra woke earlier than usual the next day, feeling a quiet warmth inside her that she still did not fully understand. She stood in front of her small mirror, watching the soft glow moving under her crystalline skin. Her people rarely changed, yet she had changed more in a few weeks than she had in years. She felt more alive, more aware, and more connected to others than ever before. Today, she wanted to learn how humans acted in difficult moments. Evan had once told her that humans showed their true strength when things went wrong. Lyra did not know what he meant at that time, but she wanted to understand now. She stepped into the main corridor and saw several workers walking quickly as alarms flashed yellow. Yellow lights meant caution, but not danger. Still, people looked tense. Lyra moved faster to find Evan. She found him in the engineering bay, staring at a large screen showing storm activity around the star. His face was serious. "Evan?" she said softly. "Is something happening?" He turned to her with a tight smile. "Yeah. A solar storm is moving toward our orbit. It's stronger than expected." Lyra's glow dimmed. "Is the station in danger?" "We'll be fine if we stabilize the shields and backup systems," Evan said calmly. "The real issue is keeping everyone calm." Lyra watched his expression. He looked focused but not afraid. Humans were strange. Storms, danger, unpredictable events. Yet they stood steady. She followed him as he checked generators, communication lines, and power relays. More workers joined them, and soon the room buzzed with activity. People spoke quickly, carried tools, ran scans, and shared updates. Lyra recorded everything, even the way humans breathed faster when stressed, but still worked with cooperation. The storm warning grew stronger. The entire station vibrated softly as the first wave of solar energy hit the shields. A hum filled the air, and lights flickered for a moment. Several aliens who were not used to such events panicked. One group huddled against a wall, trembling. Lyra stepped toward them, but Evan gently placed a hand on her arm. "Let me show you something first." He walked over to the frightened aliens and knelt down, keeping his voice steady and warm. "You're safe. We've gone through storms like this before. The shields are strong, and we're working to support everything. Just breathe slowly and focus on my voice." They slowly calmed down. Lyra watched closely. Evan didn't use technical words. He used human warmth, reassurance, and presence. She added new notes in her tablet. Humans guide others through fear by giving emotional stability. Then the station shuddered again, harder this time. A deeper alarm began to sound. Everyone froze for a moment. Evan stood up quickly. That's the secondary wave, he said. Lyra, come with me. We need to stabilize the lower deck. Lyra followed him through dim corridors where lights flickered uncertainly. Workers rushed past them. Some shouted updates through communication devices. Lyra felt her glow trembling. She wasn't used to loud noises, sudden movements, or fear spreading through a room, but Evan stayed steady, and she stayed close to him. When they reached the lower deck, they found a malfunctioning stabilizer. A group of alien engineers stood helplessly around it. Their species was not good with fast repairs or high-pressure situations. Their hands shook as they tried to run diagnostics. Evan moved forward. All right, step back. Let me handle this. Lyra watched his hands fly over the controls. Sparks flashed, panels beeped angrily. Evan kept working. She stepped closer. Evan, how are you so calm? Because panicking doesn't help anybody, he answered, tightening a cable. Humans learned long ago that thinking clearly in crisis saves lives. Lyra took this into her notes too, but with shaky hands. The storm vibrations made her nervous. Every sound echoed like a crack inside her body. Suddenly, the stabilizer short-circuited again. The deck lights shut off completely for a moment. Everything went dark. Someone gasped. Another alien made a frightened sound. Lyra felt her glow flicker weakly, but then she heard Evan's voice, steady and sure. Stay where you are. I'm turning on emergency lights. Moments later, soft red lights flickered to life around the room. Evan checked the wires once again, then turned to the group. Everyone take a breath. We're going to fix this together. Lyra, help me hold the panel. Lyra stepped forward without hesitation. Even though fear tugged at her core, she trusted Evan. She held the panel steady while he reconnected power lines. She felt the heat from the cables but did not move away. She stayed because she wanted to understand human strength, the strength that came not from muscles, but from the heart. Finally, the stabilizer powered up again. Blue lights washed through the room and the hum of balance returned. Everyone let out a relieved breath. One alien even placed a hand on Lyra's shoulder and said, "Thank you. You kept calm." Lyra stared at him. Me? Calm? She thought. She didn't feel calm at all. But she remembered what Evan had said. Being steady helped others become steady. They moved back to the main level. When they arrived, the storm's energy grew even stronger. The station shook, and some of the younger workers panicked. Alarms blared constantly now. People spoke over each other. The hum of fear filled the air. Lyra felt overwhelmed. Too many sounds, too many emotions, too much movement. She hugged her tablet close to keep her hands from trembling. Then she saw Evan climbing onto a platform and raising his voice, not in anger but in confidence. Everyone listen, we've trained for this. The shield is holding. We just need to work together. The room became quieter. Evan continued. Move in teams. Communicate clearly. If someone feels scared, talk to them. No one stays alone. We get through this together. Humans and aliens nodded, forming small groups. Workers checked systems one by one. Communication officers reported status updates calmly. Engineers ran to support weaker areas. Lyra watched in awe. Evan's voice changed everything. Humans had a strange gift. When they believed, others believed too. Evan turned to her. Lyra, I need your help. A lot of the teams trust you now. Can you guide Group 3 through the stabilizer hall? They need someone calm to keep them focused. Lyra froze. Me? But I am not human. I do not have instinct like you. You don't need human instinct, Evan said with a gentle smile. You have heart. People trust that more. Lyra felt something warm surge through her. She nodded. She joined Group 3, a mix of humans and aliens. They looked at her expectantly. She took a breath and spoke slowly, copying the tone Evan used earlier. We will move together. We will stay calm. I will guide you. Her voice sounded steady, even though she felt the storm shaking her inside. She led the group down the corridor. She explained what they needed to do, step by step. When someone panicked, she placed a gentle hand on their arm and used Evan's comforting words. To her surprise, people listened. They trusted her. They reached the stabilizer hall safely. Workers in her group fixed what needed fixing. Lyra stayed with them until they finished, making sure no one felt alone or afraid. When they returned to the main deck, Evan met them at the door. The storm was calming outside. The station trembled less. Systems were stabilizing. Lights grew brighter. "Lyra," Evan said with clear pride in his voice, "you did it." Lyra's glow brightened until she shone like a star. "I copy your methods, Evan. I learned from your example." "You didn't copy," he said softly. "You led. That's different." Lyra felt her whole body warm. "Then, I am learning what it means to be human?" Evan nodded. "More than you know." For the first time in her life, Lyra felt something she never felt before. Something like emotional courage. Humans felt this during hardship, and now she was feeling it too. Around them, workers cheered as the storm faded completely. Harmony Orbit Research Base had survived. Not because of one species alone, but because two species worked together. And Lyra realized something important. Emotional unity, the kind humans created, was not limited to humans. Others could learn it too. Others could share it. She wanted to learn more. She wanted to help others learn too. What she didn't know was that her journey was about to reach a place even she didn't expect, where the entire station and soon the galaxy would begin to see humans differently because of her. The solar storm had finally passed, but its effect on the Harmony Orbit Research Base remained like a quiet echo. Workers moved more slowly the next morning, tired from long hours of emergency work. Some carried small bruises from rushing around. Others rubbed their eyes from lack of sleep. But they all shared something new, a sense of unity that hadn't existed before the storm. Lyra stepped into the main hall feeling lighter than she ever had in her entire life. Her glow shimmered with soft blue and white shades. She felt proud, though she did not fully understand pride until now. She remembered guiding the group through dark corridors, calming frightened crew members, and standing steady even when she feared the shaking under her feet. She remembered Evan's words, "You didn't copy, you led." Those words stayed inside her like a warm spark. When she saw Evan across the hall working on a panel with two other engineers, she approached quickly. Her steps sounded brighter, as if her emotions changed even her movement patterns. "Evan," she said softly, "is the station safe now?" He turned, smiling despite his tired face. "Yeah, the worst is over. We're just repairing a few damaged systems now." Lyra observed his posture. He looked exhausted, but still carried a calm confidence. Humans had limits, but their endurance often surprised her. "Yesterday," she said, "I felt something new. I felt courage, and responsibility, and connection." Evan wiped his hands with a cloth. "That's because you were part of the team. You kept people steady. You helped the whole station." Lyra lowered her gaze shyly. "I only copied you." "No, Lyra," Evan said gently. "You grew." She wrote these words in her mind. She no longer needed her tablet to remember the important lessons. The lessons now lived inside her. Later that day, several leaders from different species called for a station-wide meeting. They wanted to discuss the storm, the damage, and the cooperation they witnessed. The large meeting hall filled quickly. Humans sat beside aliens, and no one separated by species this time. The storm had broken invisible walls. Lyra took a seat in the front row beside Evan. Her glow flickered with nervousness. She wasn't used to large crowds watching her. The station commander, a calm human woman named Captain Reyes, stepped forward. "Yesterday," she began, "we faced one of the strongest solar storms this sector has seen in years. We survived because this station worked as one." Several aliens nodded. Some even clapped. Reyes continued, "I want to highlight someone who helped unite the crew, someone who reminded us what cooperation between species really means." Lyra felt confused. Then she realized Reyes was looking at her. The captain smiled warmly. "Lyra, please stand." Lyra rose slowly. Her glow brightened in surprise. She glanced at Evan, who nodded encouragingly. Reyes spoke again. "Lyra not only assisted with technical tasks, but also provided emotional support for many crew members. She helped calm fear, guide teams through danger, and inspire confidence. These actions saved time and brought harmony during crisis." People began clapping, humans and aliens alike. Lyra felt overwhelmed. Her glow shimmered uncontrollably, like gentle fireworks under her skin. Reyes continued, "Her understanding of human emotional methods is extraordinary. In fact, her recent studies have impressed the Galactic Council. They are proposing a new cultural program inspired by human bonding methods, something Lyra helped demonstrate." Lyra hesitated. "Me? But I only wanted to learn. I did not mean to become important." Reyes laughed softly. "Great changes often begin with someone simply wanting to learn." Evan leaned close and whispered, "You earned this, Lyra." After the meeting, several researchers approached her to ask questions about her experience. She answered as best as she could. Riley hugged her lightly, an action Lyra accepted with a shy glow. A few aliens from distant species even asked if she could teach them human-style emotional bonding. Hours later, when the crowd finally dispersed, Lyra and Evan walked toward the viewing window where the blue star shone like a peaceful ocean. Lyra looked out and spoke quietly. "Evan, I do not understand something." "What's that?" "Why do humans share emotions so easily? Why do you comfort others even if you are tired? Why do you encourage others even if you feel uncertain?" Evan took a moment before answering. "Because we know what it feels like to be scared. We know what it feels like to be lost. And we know how much one voice, one gesture, one moment of kindness can change someone's day." Lyra processed this slowly. Humans carry the feelings of their past and use them to help others in the present. "That's a good way to put it," Evan said. Lyra's glow warmed. "Then I want to learn how to help others too, not just copy gestures, but understand the meaning behind them." "You already do," Evan replied gently. "You helped more people than you realize." Lyra felt silent for a moment. The star reflected on her glass-like skin, making her look like a figure made of light. "Evan," she said softly, "when I first asked you about human reproduction, I was confused. I thought lifting a child or offering comfort was part of creating life. But now I think I understand something deeper." Evan raised an eyebrow. "What do you understand?" "That humans reproduce more than biology," she said thoughtfully. "You create emotional strength. You pass courage to the next generation. You teach others how to stand, how to support, how to unify. You reproduce values, not only bodies." Evan breathed in slowly. "Yeah, that's actually true." "And it's something we're proud of." Lyra nodded. "Then I want to attempt this. Not human biology, human heart." Evan smiled. "And you've already started." The next day, Lyra met with leaders from several species. They wanted her to help design a new program called the Human Style Connection Initiative. Its purpose was simple: teach emotional unity, trust-building, and cooperative problem-solving across species. She was nervous at first, but every time she hesitated, she heard Evan's voice in her mind. "You led. You grew. You can do this." Lyra explained how she learned from humans, how friendship formed through small acts of kindness, how courage grew through support, and how unity came from emotional stability. The leaders listened with interest. Some took notes, some asked questions, and for the first time, Lyra felt like she wasn't just learning, she was teaching. The program was approved within a week. During the official announcement ceremony, Lyra stood beside Evan on a stage facing both humans and aliens. She delivered her message not with loud confidence, but with sincere clarity. She said, "When I first arrived here, I believed humans were strange. Their emotions seemed unpredictable. Their actions seemed fast and confusing. But now I see something beautiful. Humans strengthen others simply by being present. They lift people in need. They share comfort. They give courage without being asked. And this is a kind of reproduction that creates better worlds." Evan smiled proudly as the audience listened. Lyra continued, "So I ask all species here, may we attempt this too? May we reproduce human kindness, human courage, human trust, and human connection?" The hall remained silent for a moment, then erupted in warm applause. Humans clapped with big smiles. Aliens glowed, hummed, vibrated, or displayed whatever signs of joy their species expressed. Lyra felt overwhelmed again, but this time with happiness. After the ceremony, she walked with Evan one last time to the viewing window. The blue star continued shining softly beneath them. "Evan," she whispered, "thank you for helping me understand humanity." Evan placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Thank you for reminding us what humanity really means." Lyra's glow brightened fully. She no longer felt like an outsider trying to copy human emotion. She felt part of the station's heart, a heart that now included many species. And so, a simple question she once asked in confusion, "That's how humans reproduce?" became the spark that changed her life, the station, and soon the entire galaxy. For she learned that humans reproduced something far greater than life.